Hey Tisha, thank you so much for talking with us today.
You're welcome. Good to be here, Etty.
I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about your MS. Maybe we can
hmm
start with a little bit of a background about your MS type and how long and how it's being treated.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with MS back in 97, when I was just 22 years of age, with relapsing remitting MS. It was very aggressive early on, massive relapses, hospital stays, rehab. And really the last 15 years, I've only had one relapse. So I'm a bit, yeah, a bit abnormal in terms of it's gone opposite to way it should have.
And you said there was no relapse for 15 years. Was there gradual change even though there wasn't a relapse, or was it kind of plateaued, or did it plateau?
Yeah, I struggle with my walking now, but a lot of that is the damage done during those really aggressive relapses. So definitely, I'm not officially progressing, but I certainly notice that I'm not doing what I used to in my 20s. But yeah, the actual type of relapses and that aggressive, intensive treatment in a hospital and then rehab, that has stopped, which is good. A lot of that, I guess, is to do with lifestyle choices I've made, but also new treatments that are now available.
Yeah. So I imagine since you've had MS for such a long time, you have a lot of experience with both medical treatment and physio treatment. Can you
hmm
just spare a couple of minutes talking about the medical treatment and then talking about the physio treatment and what your expectations are from those treatments?
Yeah, so I've always been guided by a neurologist. So my treatment at the beginning, there was only one medication available back in 97. And I started on that. But since then, I've gone on to all the different, injections, infusions. I'm currently on Ocrevus. And, that has really helped me in, I guess, stopping some of those relapses. So that's been a real positive. But as well, I've always had physio. So part of the NDIS now, I'm able to access regular physio sessions, which has been amazing because previously you really had to, I guess, wait for a relapse to access physios. Whereas now I feel like you can be a lot more proactive in your treatment. So I have regular physio treatments and putting together also exercise plans as well for doing each day. So yeah, so that has been a real key component to me keeping well, MS wise. Yeah, so and over the years I've also had, OT treatment and all, because it just depends, I guess, on the relapse and what parts of your body are impacted during that time.
Yes, and I remember you were telling me about the severity and intensity of the relapses, basically lying in the hospital bed, not being able to do a thing and not knowing what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and that was petrifying. That was in my 20s. I remember in 2000, I spent months in hospital at St. Vincent's and I couldn't wriggle my toes. And it was really interesting. I was so fortunate to have an amazing neurologist in that time that didn't let me give up hope of regaining mobility. Other doctors didn't necessarily concur, but fortunately, he gave me that reassurance. And then I was in rehab for quite a few months and having daily treatments there. And that helped me move again. And to a point where I was told originally I mightn't get out of a wheelchair, but the following year I traveled overseas by myself for the year. So, I definitely rebounded from that relapse.
And that's a testimony to a few things. One is that sometimes medical professionals give you a grim prognosis that may not come
hmm
true. Secondly, I think your resilience in terms of your approach to your illness. And the third thing is actually taking actions. You're quite proactive in your management of your MS.
Yeah. And
Can
I
you
think you
tell
have to be
me? Okay.
with MS, sorry. You have to be proactive and you have to manage it because this disease is going to be around for a long time, you become an expert on that, your condition and what works and what doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, you have to take control of what's going in your body and also what treatments and, physio you're having as well.
So, in terms of taking control of your management, how do you take control over your management of physio? What sort of things do you expect or want from a physio?
Yeah, I think really individualized treatment in terms of I know my body so well now. I know what works and what doesn't work. So really having a physio that we can work together in putting together a treatment plan. And yeah, and working on that, yeah, as I said, together. And it's not just them coming to do a particular treatment. It's like working on what does work, what doesn't work, and finding that out together. So been really fortunate. I've worked with the same physio for quite a number of years. And yeah, it just works seamlessly now.
So, what does it look like when you don't get the physio treatment you want or need? What is it like?
You feel unheard. You feel like you're not being listened to, that you're not being, I guess, respected as the expert on your body. So I know in rehab years ago, straight away, I knew that I wasn't going to get better if we continued down with the exercise plan that the physio had mapped out. And I actually spoke to the head physio and said, previously I've got out of the wheelchair and walking again because we've really focused on core activities and bow bath and all these different things that I knew would work with me. And he was great. He said, right, we'll take that in and take that on board and we'll change your treatment. So it's having that confidence to speak up and then having someone who listens to you, who respects that you know your body.
So, it's about the physio being open minded, not necessarily coming to you with an exercise program, but figuring the exercise program with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And MS is so different for everyone. So, and MS has presented itself differently to me over the years. So, I can't expect a physio to know how it's happening, how it's impacting me in this particular relapse or in my recovery. So it's been felt like I'm being heard, and what I'm saying is being taken on board. And I think that's so important because I just disengage if I think I'm not being listened to.
And you think you're not being listened to when you disengage, and then that affects the effectiveness of treatment.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder what it would be like if you continued with the exercise program. Say you would say, yes, I'm going to do it anyway. Do you think it would have worked as well? Or do you think it's inseparable, the exercises, from your attitude to them?
Yeah, I don't think you're it's a full-on job having MS, and I don't think you're motivated to do exercises which aren't going to work. Like I certainly, once I've got the trust in my relationship with the practitioner, I'll take on board. Like my physio Claire, if she says, "Come on, we need to try this," I trust her. Now. So I'll try something I mightn't be comfortable with doing or mightn't want to do, like those clam exercises. I hate them. Every morning I do them, hate them. But she says, well, that's going to help. So I do them. So, I trust her because she has listened to me and she does do things that work for me. So it's got to go both ways, I think.
Okay. So you try things with her and some of them work and some of them don't, or she usually gets it right, or how does it work? How do you work out what to work on?
Yep. She'll come, like I get home visits with her or I have before I moved. And she'll actually say, "What do you feel like working on today?" And I'll say, "Well, this week I've had some real issues, like my legs just don't want to move." I know I'll say to her, like, my legs are going in. I don't use the right terminology. And she's like, "Okay, your gait's not right." And I'm like, "Yeah, my bum's sticking out." And she said, "Okay, we need to work on, whatever it is on my legs, my abductors, whatever it is." So she gives terms to what I'm saying's happening. And then we'll work out what we do for that session based on the feedback I've given.
Yep,
So that's how we work together.
yep, yep. So, what would be your advice to physios? If you are to talk to every physio that treats every person with MS, what will be your advice to them?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, listen, and just keep reminding yourself that MS is so different for everyone who experiences it. So listen to what's happening. And, as I say to Claire, like we laugh, I say, here, it's like I present her with all these, issues to fix. And I said, I don't know how you're going to do it, but by the end of the session, you'll work it out. And we just laugh because I'm like this problem to be solved. And you can see her mind ticking along. She's not thinking, oh, well, last session with someone, I did A, B, and C. She's thinking, okay, Tisha's experiencing this week. How am I going to deal with that? So it's that dynamic relationship, and it's like coming up with new things that might work, and working together. So first of all, I think it's really respecting my insights as to what's happening and knowing I'm in tune with my body. It's also what really annoyed me and frustrated me in rehab was sometimes the push on quantity of, repetitions of exercises as opposed to the quality of what I'm doing. And I know because I had amazing neuro physios early on at St. V's that I knew if someone was saying that to me, go, 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 try harder, it's like they don't understand MS. They don't know that that's not the point because with physios that knew what they were doing with MS, they're like, no, as soon as your quality, I can see that you're not, I don't know what terminology you use, but, the quality of what you're doing is slipping, then we stop because we don't want you getting into bad habits. So as soon as someone pushes quantity over quality, I lose faith because I think they don't know what they're doing. And then also, I think respecting my choices as well and my input into the treatment and little things, or not little things, but a physio years ago wanted and really pushed and got annoyed that I didn't want to use a walker. I wasn't ready to use a walker at that time, but their frustration was seeping through. Whereas Claire's patiently been at me about getting a walker, but just letting me come to that at my own time. And has done things like sourcing a really nice looking walker for me because she knew that was important for me. So it's her knowing me, and respecting where I'm at emotionally as well as physically.
Mm.
Yeah, so I hope that sort of answers some of the questions.
It certainly does. Thank you very much for that. Anything else you'd like to add that I didn't ask you?
Um, no, I don't think so, except I guess too, as a appreciation, what physios do is incredible. And I think what was really great for me is the confidence and trust my neurologist had in physios. My physios loved my neurologist because they felt really respected. And he said, I would often say, right, the medical treatment's got you this far. Now I hand you over to them because they'll get you walking. And I think, what you do is so important for people living with MS. And yeah, I would be lost and I wouldn't be walking without that input. So it's really important, though, that we work together to make sure that we tailor our treatment together.
Thank you very much, Tisha.
You're welcome.
Be with you soon.
Okay, bye.